Hello everybody, it's Glitter Informer, and at long last, we finally got a Mashiro-focused episode. Episode 8 focused on the relationship between Tsubasa and Sora. Episode 9 focused on the relationship between Tsubasa and L. And Episode 10 focuses on the relationship between Tsubasa and Mashiro. Let's go! Before we get into the thick of it, the opening theme has been updated. For the first 9 episodes, it focused primarily on Sora and Mashiro, and I was worried it would stay that way for the entire season even after Tsubasa, Ageha, and whoever the mystery 5th gear is joined. But my fears were alleviated because they went back through and added Tsubasa into a bunch of shots in the opening theme. Let me go through everything they changed. Not only that, but Tsubasa has also been added to the title card. Okay, now for the actual episode. This one's got a pretty simple plot. Mashiro wants to throw Tsubasa a welcome party now that he's officially part of the team. Sora's totally on board, but Tsubasa's like, really guys, there's no need. And Sora and Mashiro have to convince him that they really do want to throw a party for him. He agrees to the party on the condition that he helps them set it up. Also, Tsubasa has a birdhouse now. Super cute. Anyways, at the party, Tsubasa wants this dish called yakitai, which is this dish unique to the Puni bird tribe. The last time he had this amazingly delicious dish was when his parents threw a party for him after his drawing won first place in a contest. Oh yeah, Tsubasa is really good at drawing. And we also see Tsubasa's mom for the first time. We also find out that Tsubasa keeps in touch with his parents via the mirror pad, which we probably could have just assumed, but it's nice to get confirmation. Anyways, turns out making yakitai is gonna be pretty difficult because Tsubasa never learned how to make it and nobody else knows how to make it since they're not part of his tribe. Fortunately, Yoga looked up yakitai on the mirror pad and it turns out to be really similar to this Japanese dish called taiyaki. Taiyaki is a fish-shaped pastry with a filling inside. Traditionally, this filling is sweet paste made of red beans, but it can be made with any filling you want. Why does this tribe of birds from an alternate world with their own secret culture have a recipe that is almost identical to a Japanese recipe? The episode never explains it. Well, whatever. Sora and Mashiro make some taiyaki for Tsubasa. He thinks it's delicious, but the taste of the red bean filling is different from the filling in yakitai. See, yakitai is made using puni flour and puni beans, ingredients that only exist in Skyland. Tsubasa tells them that it's good enough, but Sora and Mashiro insist on not giving up until they perfectly recreate the yakitai taste. So, the three of them make a bunch of taiyaki with a bunch of different fillings and have a grand old time doing so. They're all delicious, but none of them can replicate the taste of yakitai. This leads to them going out to the store to get more ingredients for more types of filling. As they walk to the store, Sora tells Tsubasa about how Mashiro made cloud bread for her back in episode 3 to welcome her to Earth and remind her of Skyland, and how good it tasted. She says that Mashiro's cooking has a mysterious ability to make anyone smile, and Tsubasa agrees. Mashiro tells Sora and Tsubasa about the first time she ever cooked something. When she was little, she wanted to help her parents out by making onigiri for them since they were so busy. Her parents noticed her and helped her out. The onigiri they made together that day was so delicious that even to this day, she still can't forget the flavor. Tsubasa then says he just realized something. But before he can say what it was, they get interrupted by a very poorly disguised Kabaton who is selling sweet potatoes. We then see a new eye catch now that Tsubasa is part of the main cast. I'm not sure if I made this clear, but this show airs on TV, and there's a commercial break in the middle of each episode. Before each commercial break, an eye catch plays. For the first 9 episodes, the eye catch showed Sora and Mashiro using Pretty Holic fragrance. Now, the eye catch shows the 3 cures on a carousel, holding Pretty Holic notebooks, and then the cures in their civilian forms, standing in front of a giant notebook. Buy our product, everybody! Okay, back to the show. Sora and Mashiro try to ignore Kabaton and ask Tsubasa what he realized, but Kabaton keeps interrupting in order to sell his sweet potatoes, even when they tell him to please be quiet and let the poor boy speak. So they have no choice but to fight him. Kabaton then throws off his hood and is like, "You all thought I was an ordinary sweet potato merchant, but it was just me wearing this genius disguise to catch you off guard." But the three saw through him the entire time. Kabaton turns one of his sweet potatoes into a Ronborg, and for the very first time, we see the three Cures transform together. Also, for the very first time, this spliced together transformation sequence doesn't focus mainly on Cure Sky, but rather Cure Prism, which makes sense since she's the focus of this episode. Yeah, sure, the part where the pen turns into the stick thingy is taken from Sky's transformation, and when the split screen part appears, the background is also from Sky's transformation, but Prism gets all the spoken lines! Also, the group pose is updated to include Cure Wing. I love how he hovers for a little bit before landing. Now for the fight scene of this episode. It's really well animated this time. The Ronborg shoots a bunch of rockets, and Cure Prism blocks them with rapid-fire projectiles, but she starts to get overwhelmed. Fortunately, her projectiles keep the Ronborg busy and allow Cure Sky and Cure Wing to clobber the Ronborg. Kabaton starts to get nervous, so he pulls out his special attack. He wolfs down a couple sweet potatoes and then lets out a gigantic fart. It was funny back in episode 1 because Pretty Cure isn't a show that does toilet humor, so Kabaton's fart attack came completely out of left field. It was like, oh my god, you actually went there. But here it's already happened, so it's just like, whatever, man. While the three are incapacitated by the sheer stink of Kabaton's fart, the Ronborg takes the opportunity to shoot projectiles at them. Sky and Wing recover quickly and are able to dodge and deflect the attacks respectively, but Prism isn't so lucky. Though she does use a projectile to deflect the Ronborg's rocket, she doesn't jump away like Sky does, so she's wide open for the Ronborg to punch her into a hill. Fortunately, Prism is durable enough that she gets back up pretty quickly after getting punched and is ready to rejoin the fight. Her determination withers, however, when Kabaton mocks her for being a weakling. She isn't quick like Sky, and she can't fly like Wing. This is honestly kinda weird. If any one of the Cures lacks a special ability, it's Sky. Wing, of course, can fly, and Prism has projectiles. Sky mainly specializes in melee, but both Prism and Wing can do that. Kabaton claims that Sky is quick, but I haven't noticed her being any quicker than the other two Cures. The closest I can think of is that she displays more acrobatic abilities than them, but who cares how many handsprings you can do when your partners can shoot projectiles and fly? Yet, Prism is portrayed as the least powerful of the Cures for some reason. I guess if her ranged attacks were as powerful as Sky and Wing's melee attacks, she would completely outclass them, but she still has a place in the team. The only reason she's been underperforming is because she hasn't been using her ranger abilities to her advantage. What she needs to do is get better at dodging. She needs to get farther away from the Ronborg so she can attack it, but it can't easily attack her. Of course, this Ronborg also has ranged attacks, but if she dodged like Sky and Wing had, she wouldn't have gotten punched. Prism isn't weak, she just needs more practice to better use her powerful abilities. But Sky and Wing say none of this. Instead, they launch themselves back into battle, and as they dodge rocket projectiles and beat the Ronborg up some more, they tell Kabaton about how important Prism is to them because of how kind she is. This cheers Prism up and inspires her to get back into action. The Ronborg then shoots a gigantic rocket at Sky and Wing, and for some reason, they don't jump out of the way even though they see it coming, even though they've been just fine at dodging things before. This gives Prism the opportunity to jump in and deflect the rocket with Prism Shot. Hey, that attack didn't just exist for episode 4. Wing then uses Wing Attack, which just lightly grazes the Ronborg and throws it off balance. Honestly, he could have just not used the attack at all and it wouldn't have made a difference. Then, Sky and Prism finish the Ronborg off with Updraft Shining. Kabaton teleports away and the group finally gets to do their shopping. So what was it that Tsubasa wanted to tell the girls before he got cut off? Well, it turns out what he really wanted wasn't just to eat yakitai. It was to relive the fun memories of celebrating with his mom and dad. And he was able to because he had so much fun cooking with Mashiro and Sora. So even if the taste is a little different than what he's used to, as far as he's concerned, what they made today is their yakitai. So they go home and have their party, and wow, they made all of this stuff in just a few hours? Literally how? Looking at the clock during the party, it's only around 7:40 p.m. when they have it. These guys are the most productive people in the world. The ending cameo for this episode is Cure Star from 2019's Star Twinkle Pretty Cure. I know that people love this season and they love Cure Star, but I'm gonna be real with you. Star's always been my least favorite Pretty Cure. Her voice is annoying, she doesn't have all that much personality beyond typical ditzy pink Cure, and what she does have beyond that is being a complete and utter idiot even by ditzy pink Cure standards. She's so bad at lying, for instance, that she makes Sora look like a CIA agent. But enough about that, because I did enjoy this episode. It's great to finally have focus on Mashiro again after all this time. I like how the show is continuing to show Mashiro's kind-heartedness by having her come up with the idea to throw the welcome party and having her teach Sora and Tsubasa how to make taiyaki. I also like how Mashiro's conflict of low self-esteem is being continued rather than being forgotten in episode 4. Finally, the fight scene this episode was nice and long while being really well animated throughout. Overall, this one was a good time.